Peace and blessings to the house of Israel, to the Israelites, those that are scattered abroad. I bid you good, good tidings. I'm not going to say good morning because we know that there's no such thing as a good morning, right? Again, we're going to be on and we're going to be talking about this whole reparations thing and the spin that the media and the government has, and not only the media, the government. You have a lot of enemies. You have the media, you have the government. You have different factions of even people that look like you and even your own people working against you. So again, we're going to have these weekly Wednesday meetings at around this time. Hope you all can join in. Going to introduce the sister, Sister Wise Society. Go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we can jump in and get started.
Happy new day, everybody out there. I'm just here grateful again to see another day. Exciting times, right? Even though some of us may be feeling a little down sometimes, a little discouraged, but just maintain hope because this is a time that some of our ancestors prayed for, wanted to see, and couldn't. And we're here for such a time as this. And so I'm grateful to be with you all. Shout out to the audience. Tell us where you're watching from. And again, we'll be here every week, like my brother said. Looking forward to chatting with you all about this topic.
Yeah, and keep in mind, family, again, this is not about per se. It is, but it isn't. But it's not just for the Israelite community. This is anyone that has been indigenous here because we know our people were the indigenous people that were here. Those were the Israelites, but we were also brought over on transatlantics as well. And so, but this is not just for those that are of the Israelite mindset and paradigm. These calls are going out to anyone that considers themselves indigenous. You consider yourself FBA, ADOS, or more a Hebrew Israelite, if you're with a camp or not with a camp, if you're with the Christian church, if you even worship Baal or even that other guy, Apollo. This is for you because we need to be repaired. They say that trauma is passed from the child, from the parent. And it's funny that the laws that the sister bring up, part of circular ventrum, I don't even know if I said that correctly,
Yep, you did.
but see, I'm learning. You
That's
guys
what we're
better
here
be
for.
careful. You guys better be
Hmm.
careful. But that sort of thing is telling you that, hey, we know that we've injured these people, and rightfully so, they need to be repaired. Now, how we repair them is not going to really be up to us. It's ultimately going to be up to the Father. So I'm going to ask you, Father, we're coming here right now so that you can open up the people's minds and hearts, including my own, to be able to receive this information that's coming forth today and every Wednesday, and all of the stuff that's happening in the background for the apple of your eye. In your name we pray, Father. Thank you. Selah. So,
Selah.
sis, you go ahead and tell me where you want me to go, and we will go there.
Absolutely. So let's go over to the DOJ website. And I brought receipts. So everybody that loves to have receipts when they're talking and use them in their other discourse, please make sure that you go to these websites, mark them, keep them, utilize them, and look further, right? I don't just say that my information is the end all be all. I say that I'm going to do the research and I'm going to, understand the issue, speak from data points and evidence and proof, right? To make our points known. So right here, and if you could zoom in a little bit, I want
Yeah,
the
I'm
people to see.
I'm going to set that up right now. Give me a second. I'm,
hmm
I'm
I
just
want the people to see that this is the Department of Justice website. I didn't go find this page and create it on AI. If you look at the top, this is how you know you have arrived on an official government website because it says it right there at the top. Okay. It says it right at the top. That it's an official website belonging to the United States government. Now, obviously, it's the Office of Public Affairs at the U.S. Department of Justice. If you remember or you recall, our last show, we were talking about the votes on the UN resolution with regards to reparations. The U.S. didn't just abstain from a vote, they voted no. They did not recognize the harm. They did not recognize the legal remedy to the harm to be reparations. And their vote was an outright rejection of everything included in that UN resolution for reparations, although it did pass, right? So their vote didn't stop it from passing and becoming a law, the gravest crime known to man on earth is what they have coined slavery and called it trafficking within that international law. But it gave us some insight into the United States position on paying reparations as a remedy, a legal one, to the injury and harm that incurred to descendants of U.S. chattel slavery. 54 days later, from that March 25th date, we're here 54 days later. The United States, the same one that said there was no legal harm and no legal remedy that existed to pay reparations to descendants of U.S. chattel slavery, signed a $1.776 billion reparations order from the Department of Justice. They made formal apologies, created a monetary relief and a permanent commission for Donald Trump, his sons, and his organization. And I got to tell you right now, this is not a political talk, right? This ain't about sides. None of that is going to be coming from my dialogue. This is about understanding the code, what the US uses to codify all of their privilege, all of their monetary and economic value, all of the things that they do to bind people or to free people from obligations, right? Governance. Some people refer to the US as a corporation. We see right here, 54 days later, look at the date, May 18th. This is when the press release came out. This is 54 days after the March 25th vote at the UN. They are showing us that they actually do have a legal mechanism. This when they use the judgment fund, okay? And this same mechanism is what could have existed for all of this time that we have been saying that we've been harmed and we deserve a legal remedy for that harm generationally to pay out those claims. They did. This shows you that they're not saying that it's impossible to pay reparations. This shows you that they can easily establish, even by way of lawsuit, because that was the legal mechanism where the settlement agreement came from. But it also shows you the hypocrisy. So I remember in 1964, Malcolm X said, I'm one of the 22 million Black people who are the victims of democracy. Nothing but disguised hypocrisy. Now I'm saying I'm one of the 51.6 million Black people who are the victims of democracy, nothing but disguised hypocrisy. And we're going to go into what that hypocrisy entails. Some of you have felt it, some of you experience it in different ways. We know it every day when we see that there's two systems operating parallel each other, one for everyone else and one for us, right? And it's not about victimization, it's about the fact that our ancestors built all of these things that are still a value to the economy today. And we have not received any legal remedy for the harm that it caused generationally. My brother opened up talking about genetics. If you look at how epigenetics works, and that's what he was articulating through partes sequitur ventrum, that which follows the belly, that was codified law in the US to make slavery a heritable condition. If you look at epigenetics or other genetic research, and we're not going to go deep into that because I'm not that kind of scientist. I'm a political scientist. But if you look at the study of how behavior and environment can change and affect the way your genes work, we're not just talking about a remedy that, because of the work and the labor and the cost and the pay. We're talking about harm and injury. If you were to go out and get into a car accident because someone hit you, you would sue them, even if you do it through insurance company, for the harm that they caused. If that was bodily harm, then that cost has to be calculated in that legal remedy, also called a civil torts claim, also called a lawsuit. Okay. So I want you guys to just continue to get that in your minds. We're not asking for any favors. What we're saying is that we were harmed. Here are the ways we were harmed. And because that is against the law now, based on that UN reparations, and the US has contended and challenged that, saying no international law existed at the time that slavery took place. Therefore, they weren't bound to any rules or laws, and what they did was not illegal. But the world has stated on March 25th by their votes that it was illegal and it is a crime, right? So now, what is the legal remedy? Let's go to, do you have anything you want to say about the fact that 54 days later, they showed that they are able to set up a legal pathway to pay reparations?
No, the only thing that I could say is it just reminds me of when the Israelites were trying to leave and Pharaoh kept hardening his heart. And so what I look at and see when I see society right now, and the stars are testifying to this, because the stars impact us and the luminaries impact us more so than we realize. What I'm seeing is that they're free to do what they think is going to keep them in power,
Hmm.
but the Father is taking that, has already taken the power away from them. We have the power, but we are waiting for someone to jump out of the sky. We're waiting
Right,
for this mythical figure to come and save us, when the Father says the kingdom is within you. At any rate,
right.
that's all I have to say, is that I related to all of this evil that I see them doing. It's just backfiring. And whatever they do, and you guys can find a precept, whatever they mean for evil for us, the Father means it for good. So, Pharaoh, you keep hardening your heart, but ultimately we will be set free.
Right. And, I don't want people to see stuff like this and get discouraged. This has been going on for a very long time. I mean, the thing about it is understanding the mechanism, right? Understanding the weapon. The interesting and I don't laugh because it's funny, but this is called the Anti-Weaponization Fund. I want to read this first paragraph. The US Department of Justice today announced that as a part of the settlement agreement, and we're going to look a little bit further into that, President Donald J. Trump versus the Internal Revenue Service. How many of you guys can sue their Internal Revenue Service
And win.
and win? Not you don't even go to court, because actually, if you know the full scope of the story, the lawsuit was for 10 billion. The judge was kicking it out, but before the judge even decided, that this was a farce, the Department of Justice entered into a settlement agreement. Okay, so just know that that's what happened. And it's called the Anti-Weaponization Fund, to provide a systemic process. Now, here they're saying it themselves. They're able to provide a systemic process to hear and redress claims of others who suffered weaponization and lawfare. Okay. So if you could go to the actual settlement agreement, let's look at that. I want you guys to be able to see this in the way that it was filed.
Okay, but before I do that, I believe I want to address this comment right here. It's from at U9V8Y. This guy talked like he does not believe in Christ, which you can call him Christ. I don't call him that. I call him Messiah. That's my big brother, Messiah. And so, yes, I do believe in him. I do believe that he was who most people understand him to be, and that he came back to save his kinsmen. One of his names and monikers that they gave him was Kinsman Redeemer. So he came back for his people. He came to save his people. So if that was a question for me, yes, I do believe in Mashiach, and I do believe that he is the son of the Father, and I do believe that he is that light. When the Father said, "Let there be light,"
Mm-hmm.
just to elucidate for you. So hopefully that brought you some clarity, whether you be a male or female. So what was the next
Brother,
document you
see,
called?
I find it interesting that in the middle of the day, there's always someone to try to battle. That's not what we're here for. Like
Yeah.
that's from me, wise society, Christina, like spend your efforts and energy doing something else. We opened up this discussion to everyone that considers themselves, and you already gave the list in the beginning, so we won't do it again. But take that somewhere else. That we don't need that kind of energy.
Yeah, I mean, I can entertain it to a point. Most of the time, they'll get someone that they'll get the brother C that doesn't have the patience. But I guess after talking to you this one, I kind of smoothed out a little bit, and
Yeah, but
I
see,
got
this
my
is the
marching
thing. You're
orders.
distracting the conversation. I see your comment. It's been acknowledged. Now you can just leave it and get this other knowledge, or you could just exit. All right. So if you go to the actual settlement agreement, we're going to look at that.
There we go. It's up.
Okay. Um, I want you to actually, brother, see the first page of the settlement agreement should say, and let me try to open it again.
Are you talking about this one?
Yes. All
Okay.
right. So I'm sure you guys have seen lawsuits before. This is the typical one. You see that it's already showing you where it was filed, right? The United States District Court, Southern District of Florida, gives the case number, who the plaintiffs are, and who the defendants are. Okay. If you go down, you're going to see the information. What happened? What took place? What is the harm that is being claimed? If you haven't seen a lawsuit, this is what it looks like, right? There's a claim of harm or injury, and what rules were violated. So you'll see the U.S. code in there. This is a civil lawsuit, otherwise known as a civil tort claim. The case, right? It's going to define what the case is, brought by Donald J. Trump Jr., Eric Trump, and the Trump Organization, LLC. Those are the plaintiffs against the Internal Revenue Service and the U.S. Department of Treasury, who are the defendants. It's going to tell you all the parties involved. It's going to tell you the code by which they can invoke their right to sue and settle. Okay. So you see, here it is right on the document. You don't have to guess about it, listen to, people that don't know what they're talking about, lie about it. All you have to do is read it and look at it for yourself, and or either come here and we're breaking it down with you. So you see that the 26 US code 6103 section, that little squiggly line means section. 26 US code section 7431, and 5 US code section 552 AE10. In the interest of resolving the dispute between the parties, they thereby stipulate and agree as follows. All right. So you see all of the things that are recited in there. I want you to look at B. I want you to look at B. Okay. President Trump has also submitted two claims for relief pursuant to the Federal Tort Claims Act. Has anyone ever heard of the Federal Tort Claims Act? And I'm not going to get too far off on a tangent. I just want to know if you've heard of the Federal Tort Claims Act. Okay. So the Federal Tort Claims Act, and this is something that you need to look up further because, like I said, I'm not going to get too deep in this, but I wanted to show you this part right here. The Federal Tort Claims Act is a federal statute that allows private parties or individuals to sue the United States government in federal court for most torts, such as personal injury, wrongful death, or property damage committed by federal employees acting within the scope of their employment. Did y'all hear that? Okay. It acts as a waiver of sovereign immunity, allowing the government to be held liable in the same manner as a private individual under similar circumstances. So I bring up this car accident, um, example as a very simple way of saying if you go out, if you get in your car and you're driving down the street, you're following all the rules, whatever, and someone just comes out of the side and smashes into your car, you get injured, your passengers get injured. Guess what? They harmed you. Okay. Now, some of those injuries may be lifelong, depending on how bad you were hit and what kind of vehicle were they in. You have the ability to privately sue on behalf of those injuries and that harm and receive the financial compensation and whatever else, whether that be medical care, whatever else that adds up as a legal remedy to that harm. This is what the Federal Tort Claims Act does. Offers a legal remedy for private parties that sue the federal government based on the harm that they cause, even personal injury. Okay. So there are pathways that you invoke of no was just one of those obvious moments where we see the US saying we're not giving them a legal remedy and we don't care about a pathway that exists. We're not honoring it. We don't care about them saying it was the gravest crime ever. Slavery, chattel slavery, party sequitur ventrum, all of those things don't matter to us. That's not our priority. Screw their reparations asks. But then 54 days later, you see this. If you want to go to the actual fund document, I want people to see the writing on the fund document.
Is that this one that's being shown currently?
Yep, that's this one. So what's interesting, if you look at this fund document, and I'm not really sure who wrote it. I've read a lot of legal documents, and this one reads kind of amateur, and I don't know if it was, maybe somebody asked Gemini or ChatGPT. Just
No,
gonna
they
put that out
actually had
there.
BG. They asked a homegrown one. They didn't have all the data, so
So
they asked the one I just built yesterday.
I'm just I'm just gonna put that out there because there's certain things that I probably wouldn't have put in the fund document like that. However, some things were intentional. Okay. So as you can see, here's the Office of the Attorney General, Washington, D.C. You see the zip code and the date. We saw the press release came out on the 18th. The settlement agreement in Trump v. Internal Revenue Service. This is going to give the case number, right? And as you can see, it's going to say the District of Florida because we just looked at the Florida document where the lawsuit was filed. Has created an anti-weaponization fund. The fund, in quotes, the settlement agreement directed the Attorney General of the United States to issue an order establishing funding and other relevant requirements for the fund. So the capitalized terms in this document shall have the same meaning as in the settlement agreement. That's simple. All right. Now I want you to see C and D. The U.S. releases, waives, acquits, and forever discharges each of the plaintiffs from and hereby forever, you see those in caps, barred and precluded from prosecuting or pursuing any and all claims, counterclaims, causes of action, appeals, or requests for any relief, including injunctive relief. So, what is injunctive relief? You got to understand the difference between injunctive and monetary relief. So, a lot of times when people are saying, file a civil rights claim, if a government entity has somehow violated your civil rights, then you can go to a state or federal entity like the Civil Rights Division, if they have it, or Commission on Civil Rights, and you can file a claim. That can look like disability discrimination, racial discrimination, all of those categories that count as civil rights violations. Okay. When you go to those divisions, uh, most operated by the government, just like the DOJ, sometimes what they do is find the violation to be true, that the entity harmed you in a specific way, they violated your civil rights, but they don't offer monetary relief for injury and harm in the way that it's a private lawsuit or civil torts claim does. What they do is they offer a set of rules and a way that the entity can rectify the situation by acting appropriately. So they're just telling them, you know what, you broke the law here, you violated, you owe this person so many hours maybe of time back or whatever they try to put in the rules. I see them in education settings a lot where people file civil rights complaints because their child's rights were violated in school for special education, and what they'll do is tell them how many hours they need to give them of service that they didn't provide when they violated them. Or, say, for instance, parents complain about their students not graduating because they didn't have proper tutoring or training, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There was racism happening at the school. They weren't being taught, whatever that may be. What the injunctive relief will be, like the federal government telling this local or state government, now you have to go and find those students, make sure you offer them a year of tutoring and get them to be able to graduate if they dropped out because of this treatment, right? That's what injunctive relief will do. Give them a deadline, etc. So that's out. Monetary relief and the damages, right? Monetary relief, damages, examinations or similar related reviews, appeals, debt relief costs. I mean, they done put everything in the kitchen sink. Attorney's fees, expenses, and or interest, whether presently known or unknown, meaning in the future, if something comes up and somebody thinks about it, you're not going to be able to come back and say anything. Okay. As the effective date of the settlement agreement have been or could have been asserted by defendants against any of the plaintiffs or related or affiliated individuals, including without limitation, family or others filing jointly, or parties including trust, parent, sister, or related company affiliates and subsidiaries by reason of, with respect to, and in connection with. And I know it sounds like a lot of language, but what they're saying is nothing's going to count. This is it. This is what, the responsibility is released, waived, and acquitted, and forever discharged, barred, and precluded. Okay. So if you want to go down, I'm not going to just keep belaboring that, but if you want to go down to paragraph D, I want you to see, it may be, what happened to paragraph D? Let's see. Paragraph D is showing up on mine.
There's no
Did
D on
they
this one.
did they delete this? Wow.
It's only one
Okay.
page.
So I have the document, and this is about to get very
Why don't you send it
interesting.
to me via email and I can load
I
it
have the
once I get it.
document, yeah, from May 18th. There was a different settlement agreement document there. And now when you click on the link, here is this document, which
This
is
one's
very
dated May
interesting.
19th. This one's dated May 19th, obviously. So
Uh-huh.
if you want
So
to send me the other one, is the other one pertinent to this conversation?
yeah, absolutely. Because what it shows is who's gonna get paid in this fund, but obviously it's no longer there.
Well, this one says who's going to get paid, is doesn't it, right here?
If you I sent you the other form, and basically I can just, read the paragraph, because it's okay, it's not a big deal. Don't have to spend a lot of time on that. So it says, yeah, the other one actually reads differently. Do you see it?
Yeah, I have it.
Let's see.
I need to bring
Okay.
it into the stream. Give me a second. You can continue to
Oh,
talk. I'll let
wow.
you know when I have it there.
That's interesting. Let me try to get it. Let me try to get it up on the um
I
I can
actually
bring it
have
up.
it. I just need to bring it in so that it's viewable on stream. I'm gonna have to stop the stream. Give
All
me a
right.
second.
Yeah, it's okay. I just sent you the website too. That's crazy. So I want you guys to see the other document, which is very interesting because we just got to see the shift live and in full effect. Um, it has been rare that I looked at a document yesterday and then today that document was already switched out, right? Very rare. So I sent you the link to the document, but we could just go on ahead and stay right here. All right. This document was the one that was up yesterday, y'all. And it's dated May 18th. I'm looking at it right now. And it says within 60 days, C used to read differently than the C we just read. So C yesterday, when this document was up, and the day before, read that within 60 days of the effective date, the United States would provide, um, the U.S. Department of Treasury with all necessary forms and documentation to direct a payment of $1.776 billion dollars to an account for the sole use by the Anti Weaponization Fund designated account. Okay. The corpus of the anti weaponization funding does not represent the value of any claim by plaintiffs, but rather is based on the projected valuation of future claimants and claims. Now, once the funds are deposited into the designated account, the United States has no liability for the protection or safeguarding of those funds, regardless of bank failure, fraudulent transfers, or any other fraud or misuse of funds. Y'all see that, right? And so, that order is waived for a fund protecting political allies. Okay. They have waived accountability on what they harm they caused to us for over 160 years. Same government, same instinct, protect themselves, waive liability and accountability for us. I want you to also see that what the funds can be used for, right? The funds deposited into the account may be used to pay for per diems, administrative services, funds, facilities, staff, travel, and other support services as may be necessary to carry out the mission of the Anti Weaponization Fund. Okay, remember, we were talking about the fact that the Freedmen's Bureau wasn't really resourced very well and they couldn't do their job. And there were letters back and forth between the agents of the Freedmen's Bureau and the government saying that they didn't have enough money or resources to carry out their work. Here is where all the resources will be provided, whatever's needed to carry out the mission. The members of the Anti Weaponization Fund shall serve as volunteers and gratuitous service providers without any further compensation for their work on the fund. They're allowed travel expenses, including per diem in lieu of subsistence, to the extent permitted by law. Okay. So, I just wanted you to look at this, understand that there is a legal mechanism. They set up $1.776 billion dollars of reparations in an order by way of order. Obviously, that changed within a day. Formal apologies, monetary relief, a permanent commission, and those agents who will be able to carry out and get paid. Some of them, right? You see, some people will get paid, other ones are going to work as volunteers, all within the 54 days that they voted no on the resolution.
But look at
And
how
they
fast they're getting the money, though. 60 days. Within 60 days, that better be the account. You better
that's
pay Kurt his money. Kurt got to get his money up front.
listen, that's fast. And funded by the American people. Okay. Funded by the American people. So we can get off of that and really just, like I said in the beginning, I'm one of the 51.6 billion, million, sorry, Black people in America where hypocrisy is in the democracy itself. right? So let's go over to what happened after the UN signed the resolution and look at the way that democracy is celebrated every single year. And that is going to be on the AI. No, it says, yeah, AL. I'm sorry, y'all, I don't have my glasses. It's in the second email, and it's going to be the AL.com one.
I got it. I've got it queued up and ready to go. But before that, I want to interface with the chat a little bit. So I don't know if you're a brother or sister at U9V8Y. Shalom to you. And you made the comment of the Holy Scripture said we will leave here with riches. Yeah, that's according to Exodus, the book as it was written. And so, yes, we definitely believe that as well. So those of you, again, as a reminder, this is not just about being an Israelite. This is about us as a family. And the more of us that are inside the pale of being an Israelite and outside, do the things that we've been recommending that you do. And we'll talk about the website a little bit later. Please do that. And so to answer your question, I think we're pretty close according to where we are prophetically. I believe we're pretty close. Okay, shalom to you, brother. I'll address you as brother if that's okay.
Right.
So anyway, in the spirit of moving forward, let me go back and presenting the screen, and let's get that there. We'll share that.
And
Oh, and I wanted to say, when I mentioned this part, let me quickly address this. When I mentioned pop out of the sky, when you hear me talking like that, I'm typically addressing that hippie heroin addict, that flower child, that entity, that bastard that they call that stringy hair heroin addict that they show as being Messiah, which we know Messiah didn't look like that. That's Michelangelo's boyfriend that they've been pawning off on the whole earth, got the whole earth thinking that's him when that's not him. That's what I'm addressing. So anyway,
brother
since we can
C,
get back to this.
brother C, the way I see it, you know how many people I have said we needed to commit to certain actions, and they told me they was waiting for the rapture.
And that's actually part of it too. When I think about it, addressing the rapture, because there's not going to be any rapture. You can ask Brother Berean, you can ask any Christian, you can ask that lying wicked bastard Joel Osteen, Kenneth Hagin. When is the rapture going to be? Y'all been telling us, selling these books about the rapture, Hal Lindsey, for years now. When is it going to happen? When we going to see it? When we going to disappear? Because they want to disappear from all the heinous acts that they've been doing to the Israelites. They want to magically disappear, have someone whisk them away. So that's
Right.
really
And so that's
the
what I
main
hear when
reason.
you say nobody's gonna pop out of the sky, because that's something that I hear so much to where it's sickening, right?
Yeah.
Like you're willing to bury your treasure, which is wicked. I mean, sorry, your talent, which is wicked, to not act, to say you're just going to pray and wait for the rapture. And we got children being harmed at the school, and I'm telling you to come with me up here to this meeting.
Put your hand to the head in the sand and don't want to address nothing. Meanwhile, the fake false pretend leaders that you got, the false pretenders and these wicked entities that's in the pulpit talking about, oh, give me 10%, and you willingly give them 10%, willingly. But then when someone come trying to lace your boots up on how you can really get your money before you leave here, then it's like, well, no, I don't want to do that. That's too much work. I'll have Why Society do it. I'll have Brother C mention it with his old ass.
Mm. So
You
where are the
don't want to
black
get up off
lawyers
your butt.
at?
The black lawyer, they're even worse. I forgot to throw them on the. They're even worse because they're the gatekeepers. They've been hired to rock you to sleep. They've been hired not to tell the truth, not to do anything on your behalf, not to tell you what's happening behind the scenes. And then when the time passes, when the time elapses and the statute of limitations is eliminated, they wash their hands of it because they didn't tell you and they're not going to tell you. Name me a black lawyer worth they saw outside of the one that crossed over, the one from L.A.
You
What
talking
was
about Johnny Cochran?
Johnny Cochran? Name me another one. And there was another one. There was one other one that did some good work, but he did some good work for white people, got them a bunch of money. But that's a whole different kind. The one that Jamie Foxx played. But name me a so-called African lawyer worth they salt that's doing this work. Benjamin Crump and them done cut deals with the Ghanaians and they got paid millions of dollars. Benjamin Crump and NAACP, NAN, all them groups, all they do, you know what they do?
Mm-hmm.
They gatekeep. They good for having galas, and that's it. Name me one thing that they've done for our people. They need to get put in chains and then get stoned. That's what they've earned. It's time out for us following up behind these people. And you know what the beautiful thing, I'm gonna get off the soapbox. The beautiful thing is that we have stopped following them. And the Father sent out the memo
Absolutely.
to our mind. The Father, and it doesn't matter if you're Israelite, if you ADOS, if you FBA, if you this, that, or a third, doesn't matter. But you notice how we are on code with certain things. And the red, white, and blue, we not on code with that no more. We've moved away from that because we know that the time is going to come where it's going to be the us against them. And I'm not going to get any further into that. Let's go into this document, sis, and you can rock out.
Okay, you guys see everybody in this picture right here, and you see the headline. But I want you to know that there is a meeting that has taken place. This meeting was the fourth meeting. Okay, so as you can see, they're in Spain, Barcelona. Leaders from around the world meet in what is called the defense of democracy meeting. The meeting that you see right here was the fourth meeting in the initiative in defense of democracy. It took place in Barcelona. It brought together progressive leaders to defend democratic values and confront extremism. And guess what else? Disinformation. How's that working since they got back? Right? Um, this was in April. So after the resolution, literally weeks after the UN signed the resolution, March 25th, you then have this meeting in defense of democracy summit in Barcelona with all of the leaders. And guess what the theme was? Obviously, a reparatory theme. This is if any of you saw the Mexico president and the Spain prime minister, I believe, shaking hands, saying that they were going to, get rid of their colonial past that divided them in their countries. That's what you saw them doing. This was the place that it was. The thing that you need to know about it, though, was at this meeting in particular, Ghana raised another proposal. Okay. So Ghana obviously led the proposal for resolutions. I'm sorry. But they also raised another proposal, and that proposal was to create a commission at the UN that would study the economic impact and harm that was caused because of racism and racialized laws and rules and you know job industries, workforce, everything. So they want to study this impact across the world. Again, we ask the question: who gave Ghana or the AU, the African Union, the permission, the mandate, the right to study all of us and put everything into one big package and say, here's what is owed? Did you guys?
Al Sharpton, and that other clown, Benjamin Crump, Mushmouth Crump. They gave him the right to do it, and they don't speak for me. So, where was the vote at that said we want them to represent us? Anyway, I'm. Let me stop. You
We
can
did we
continue to
did
rock
not
out.
we did not vote, and that's my point. So we have to watch the danger in what is being structured by African Union frameworks and having us folded into that as a part of the general people of African descent. The world is obviously aware because these are so-called world leaders representing 15 various countries. They consider themselves to be progressive and in defense of democracy. But I thought that democracy was about direct representation. That's one of the values that they're all supposed to be forming for. But yet Ghana can speak for us, and the AU can tuck us into their framework as people of African descent. And nobody says, well, did you guys ask the so called Black Americans?
Well, you know what's
And they
I
did
have an
send,
issue. I have an issue with. Go ahead and sis, finish your thought, and
Real quick,
go ahead.
we did have representation from the U.S. there. The governor of Minnesota was there.
Yeah, but who
Okay,
knew about that though? Who knew?
nobody did. This is my point of sharing all
Okay.
of this.
And then who did he meet with to say, okay, these are our points? But then too, I want to go back to the whole premise. They're saying that it was the greatest tragedy, right, in the history of the earth was the transatlantic trade. I don't believe that was the greatest tragedy, the worst thing that happened on the earth. I don't. That wasn't the worst. You know what the worst thing was? And here's where we need to reframe it. The worst thing was the fact that you're in a land that's not yours. You're held captive. You're a prisoner of war, and you're having to live through that. Once you've been gone through transatlantics and you set foot here on this soil, all the things that you went to, the brothers and sisters that were here and the ones that were brought over, all of that you had to go through for up until the to present day 5/20/2026 11/46, you're still a prisoner of war somewhat. Some of us more so than others. So that's really the greatest thing. The greatest tragedy is the treatment that we received here. I mean,
Brothers,
it's one thing being sold, but to go through it, that's where the tragedy lies. Go ahead, sis.
brother, see, I have never seen governments move this quickly. Because if you think about this, okay, um, March 25th, right, this resolution signed. April 18th, they're meeting. By May 18th, Trump gets a $1.776 billion reparation fund. This is literally some happening within a span of a couple of months. And they're moving money and moving power and whatever they think has been upholding them, right? So I want people to notice the swiftness with which they're moving, utilizing their codified system to get these things done.
You know
So
why I
here
think they're
you
moving
see,
so fast? Oh, you know why I think they two things. One, they know that their time is up, but then
of
two,
course.
they don't have access to the technologies that they used to have access to. Don't say nothing. That's an inside joke.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's why these bastards and bitches, because they got male and female up. I'm gonna call it like it is. Today I'm on one. So
Hey,
that's why
that's
they
what
move in the way that they
happens.
move.
That's what happens when you create a capitalist caste system based off race, and then you can't predict the future. You know, should have read their Hellenized Bibles a little bit closer.
Or you
Don't get me started.
read the fine print in the apocrypha.
Right. Oh, you mean what they banned from the book? Okay. You know
Read
what?
the
We're gonna have
fine
to
print in the apocrypha. Okay, let's get back on it.
okay.
But look at this picture though. This picture is emblematic, and it's a the two Negro looking guys, the two African looking guys, and
South
then
Africa.
this guy, I don't know who he is. He looks like he could be related, but not necessarily. So the question that I have is that where is our when you talk about democracy and when you talk about treating people fairly, there's only one people on this whole earth, and that's those that went through transatlantics and those that were in their indigenous places that can tell you what justice looks like or what it will feel like and what it will act like. It's not by coincidence that the leaders of all justice and way to do things have been the folks here that have been held prison in the snakes.
Wasn't
And go ahead.
wasn't the Spaniards the one that wrote the decrees? I mean, you know, this is in Spain, right? Let's look at this. We talking about Spain and Portuguese. We have to stop thinking that it was just these Anglo-Saxon, Germanic, whatever Britain people that were involved in our captivity. Please don't forget the Spaniards and the Portuguese who still speak Spanish to this day. And these people are in Spain, in Barcelona, announcing that they're committing themselves to non discrimination on grounds of racial or ethnic origin and social justice as essential pillars of democratic resilience. Okay. So then they have this. international panel, and South Africa announced that they were going to be raising this resolution for a vote in September of this year at the UN General Assembly meeting. So, where a lot of people were just watching that one meeting where the resolution took place, trust and believe there's two other ones coming up this year. One in September, one in November. And we've already put in our documents, and so can you. But I want you to see the people and the countries that are represented and in agreement, and what they are claiming that their agreement is the commitment to non-discrimination. In Spain, did the Spaniards and the Portuguese ever pay for what they did to us?
No, and so this is like a cover to kind of make them immune to the payments that they also have to make to us too. Spain and Portugal owe us money, not just the snakes. Spain and
Hmm.
Portugal, and guess who else owe us money? Them so-called nations that sent us over here, whether it be Ghana. Ghana owe us in too. See, they think that they just because they talk about this slavery stuff that they immune. None of them African nations is immune. Because why they just now wanting to reach back to us now? After all of these hundreds of years that have transpired, why are you reaching back now? Why didn't you reach back once we got over and say, hey, I want my children back. Bring my children back home. Huh? That seems kind of peculiar. Anyway, you want to move on to the next
So,
document?
it's interesting because as the US has people there, right? Like I mentioned, one from Minnesota, and I believe the other person went from probably Florida or the Carolinas. I can't really recall at this time, but then the US isn't a part of their signatories either. They did not sign. So the same country that was not among the signatories of what came out of this and the UN resolution just funded Trump's grievances $1.76 billion.
Yeah, 1.776 billion. And so to me,
But
this is another.
they didn't sign the declaration defending democracy and racial and non-discrimination either. Okay, so
Because
just
it's only discrimination or harm if it comes to a white person.
right,
It's
right.
just because according to white people in general, they believe that we don't really experience pain and
Hmm.
suffering and anguish because we're not technically human. We're still technically three-fifths of a human being. So
Oh,
there's that.
don't forget their excuse that they weren't the ones that did it, right?
Those Spain and Portugal, y'all gonna get decimated and destroyed too. Which hopefully Russia get their act together and do what they're supposed to do regarding that situation because they're doing a hell of a job in Ukraine right now. All praise to the Father. Thank you, Father, for the work that you're doing to those wicked bastards over there, Ukraine, Azov Regiment, right sector, those wicked fews that you destroying over there. All praise to the Father.
So, what do you think about the fact that they were also committing themselves against the digital misinformation or disinformation, the
You know
polarization of that?
that
That's
that's
interesting.
that you know what that is, and you and I have had a discussion on that. That's to be able to say that institutions or portals that provide truth of what's going on to discredit them and say, "Oh, that's disinformation." So, in other words, if you have someone standing on the doorsteps of the UN, or someone doing a post, or someone happen to do have a YouTube channel that's talking about these things, you can say, okay, they're disinformation artists. Don't believe them, believe us, and then they'll flood the zone. And you know what else they'll do is they'll move really, really fast in what they're doing, knowing that hey, all of a sudden we're being challenged.
Right, exactly. And that's why they be jiggling wires for videos like this, right? So, um,
I want to
an
address this comment
apology.
right here. I want to address this comment. I'll
Okay,
go
you go
first.
ahead, brother.
At drich5703, shalom to you. Ghana apologized to us for slavery. Okay, that's cool that they apologize, and that's a step. But what have they said? Because Ghana is its own country. We're over here. We're a nation within a nation, and have no idea the power that we have. Whether if you look at it through the book, whether if you look at being a natural man, You can look at it through spirit, or you can look at it as being natural man. We're powerful. We're a powerful entity. And guess who we got behind us? We got the Father behind us. Ghana apologizing means what exactly, though? They said sorry. Okay, so Ghana, carve us out a set of property so that we go over there and kick it like the Fuse get. Ghana, go ahead and carve me out a spot where I could go over there and lay my head when I get tired of laying my head in the snakes. Where if I want to go there for 6 months and kick it. Has Ghana done that? Has Ghana said, hey, all you so-called African Americans, all you so-called Negro, you could come over here and lay your head for a minute from time to time. We'll give you a passport. We'll give you a spot to kick it. Just like how the Snakes did Azov Regiment and Right Sector. You got them right now in the heartland of the United States. They brought them over and said, okay, we'll come over here. We'll give you jobs. We'll give you money. We'll give you a place to live because Russia's over there destroying where you used to live.
He
So what else has Ghana did?
He said that, meaning they have no business to our reparations, but they're the ones that led the reparations resolution, right?
Exactly.
So they're the ones that proposed it. Here's the thing. What does an apology mean in the criminal legal or injury and harm legal sense, right? So one of the things that we need to differentiate is there is something under moral and ethical obligations where apologies, okay, they may serve a purpose, but what we're talking about is what was codified as a system of slavery, chattel slavery, starting from partus sequitur ventrum, that which follows the belly. All of those things were codified into the system of law. And so, what we're talking about is when you are legally harmed or you are criminally harmed, even because if you're committing a crime against someone, an apology doesn't serve justice, right? If I'm the victim of that crime, I'm not going to want to hear an apology. I use the example again about the car accident. If someone harms me from slamming into me with their car, I have a right to a legal claim for harm and injury. Okay. So if someone commits a crime, then you should be not accepting apologies. I'm just going to break it down like that. So, what we're talking about is a crime that took place, a legally valid harm or violation that took place, and legal remedies as a claim. So, I want people to get that in their minds because we're not asking for favors. This is a part of the legal system by which they codified chattel slavery. So, the remedy then becomes codified as well. And what we're saying is that we are owed legal remedies. Would you call it reparations, restitution, whatever? We're not calling it programs in 1964 Civil Rights Acts. We're talking about legal and monetary remedies for the harm that was committed. And that is in the form of monetary, also like the point of artifacts was brought up in the past. I'm not going to belabor that point. But what I'm saying is, even if you look at it from the biblical sense, they carried away my gold, my silver, my goodly treasures, and my people, right? So we need to be careful just waiting for apologies and or just fiat currency. There's way more to the remedy of harm than what meets the eye.
Yeah, at D Rich 5703, I wonder how many in your circle. Yeah,
Yes, they
you're
do.
absolutely correct.
Yes, they
You're
do.
absolutely correct. My question is this though: how many in your circle understand this? How many of the people that you run across understand this?
Right.
Because Ghana
Absolutely.
is leading. Ghana is leading the charge, but Ghana harmed us too. Ghana's the one that sold us. And so, because of that, how could they be speaking for us when they owe us? And so,
Who?
D Rich, and as well as everybody that's listening in right now, you should be asking those in your circle: are you as aware as D Rich is to what's happening and what's going on? You got the
I mean,
person
there's
that
more
harmed you speaking on
kingdoms.
your
Yeah.
behalf. On your behalf, the person that
Right.
harmed you speaking on your behalf. Go ahead, sis.
hmm Yeah, there's multiple kingdoms that are in what they call Africa, just like I'm saying about Spain and Europe, right? Spain, Portuguese, there's multiple things. I wanted to you to go to the comment right before that. So yes, I do agree with D Rich. Please, continue to spread that information because that's the point that people need to understand. Like, how is our appeal to the oppressor and then the oppressor who did something, the criminal, if you want to
Yeah,
call it that,
yeah, the criminal. That's right.
the
You can call him the
criminal
criminal. Yeah,
gonna stand up and speak for us. It,
yeah, yeah.
it
That's
just
like the
doesn't work like
KKK.
that.
That's just like the KKK speaking on our behalf to get reparations. It's no different.
But the problem is, why don't they want to hear from us? Right? This is the thing that we're bringing up and why we did some of the submissions that we did, because we should, quote unquote, have our day in court. Why is it that everyone else is speaking around this issue, gets to speak on the General Assembly floor or at the UN, including Al Sharpton and Ben Crump, but they don't want to talk to actual victims and hear from their stories and hear their evidence, allow them to present their evidence, allow us to present our evidence, right? Or is it that that's what they fear? Our presentation of proof and evidence.
Yeah, because it would prove beyond a shadow of doubt that which they already know. I'm going to read this comment from the brother. We are still Israelites. It's good. The Most High has put this in their hearts to give us part of what's owed, but only Christ is going to give us the land that's promised to our ancestors. So, yes, we are still Israelites, brother. We will always be. That's something that's our bloodline. It's nothing that we can change or we can really add to. What I would say is this: if you have other individuals that you care about that are not under the Israelite banner, that you should point them to this information because it's good for all of us to get involved, not just those of us who are aware of who we are based on bloodline, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I want to speak on the part where he says that the Most High put it in their hearts to give us what's owed. The UN General Assembly resolution and the vote wasn't generated from the goodness of their hearts. Okay, this is what we're saying. But it could be utilized and it was exposed, right? And so with that, we say Selah. It wasn't generated from the goodness of their hearts. It was generated from self greed, because what is in there doesn't even reflect the people that are harmed,
It
right?
doesn't
The
even address
claim,
us. It
it
doesn't
doesn't,
address us. It's
right?
not for us. Yeah. And,
Right.
and that and that's why we're here. That's why we're here. I'm sorry. That's why we're here.
Right.
Sorry about
So
that,
we
sis.
have to be careful, because unless you know the motive and intent behind the reason why they codified this particular thing and at this time right now, you have to ask yourselves, why now? After all of these years, why now did they do it? If you look at the global economy and the things that are taking place, which were of are of prophetic and biblical proportions, we understand that. But I cannot say with 100% surety that the Most High put it in their hearts to do this thing.
Well, I can
So
tell you that he didn't put that in their hearts because the whole thing that they've written
is
wasn't
a
for
lie.
us, and and
Hmm.
and it's a lie on top of that. But it wasn't written with our people in mind, nor was it designed with our people in mind. And then the Ghana dude, that guy said that, hey, we don't want reparations in the form of money. And if you don't believe
Right.
that, we did our last video that we did, he states that.
Right.
So no, that's a misnomer, brother. And see, that's why we're doing these shows to kind of unmask the truth
Right.
about what that UN resolution really means and who it really pertains to, and what's going to come out of it. They're basically
Right.
doing this pomp and circumstance show, kind of putting it in a box so they won't have to pay anything. That's what it's really designed to do.
Exactly. It's to circumvent, right? But we welcome all dialogue. So thank you for saying that. But I want us to be very clear about the lies that are being told and the deceptive mechanisms under a codified structure that's being carried out. We're not going to go to this today.
No.
Brother C, because it's just too much. And so I want to just make sure that I engage around the submissions because there's still more work to do. And as you can see,
Want to go here?
we have this, yep, we have this site. You guys keep coming back. We're going to build on this every week, right? We have this site. Okay. Um, Based on the resolution and the lack of representation for us, specifically here in the United States of America, and that are descendants of U.S. chattel slavery and that codified system, we are making our point known that we have not been able to speak. We did not have direct representation. African Union does not represent us, neither does any other country that claims to. And so, whatever it is that others are claiming on our behalf is a farce. We must be heard, right? We must be heard. And in order for us to be heard, there has to be a declaration made that we are a distinct or distinguishable separate group of people. Okay. If you want to see more about this in the submissions, you want to read them, take your time to read them, go to the website, theboldauthority.com. You can see the submissions. The receipts are there. It was sent to the UN within 8 days of that resolution being voted on and passing into law. And because of what happened at the Barcelona, you know, defense of democracy event, we also then had to submit more documents for the upcoming September United Nations General Resolution meeting because we need to make sure our voices are heard. The danger in being folded into what the African Union phrases as people of African descent, and then to continue to allow them to speak, is that the world believes they represent us. The world doesn't see that we are distinguishing ourselves as a separate and distinct group of people. The world can then point to the fact that people like Ben Crump and Al Sharpton came to say that we are this resolution does represent your interests, and you didn't ask for money. You asked for artifacts and whatever else the Ghana president said he wasn't asking for money, right? And so we're disrupting that. We're not allowing for them to continue to use the code to trick, lie, and deceive and fold us into things without our knowledge. So the disruption is by way of their code back at them. Here's our submissions. You can go and look at them. Okay. Because they're not building any more mercantile cities for Pharaoh with us. We're not doing it. If they want to build their own stuff, that's on them, but not on our backs. Okay. So this is the page that you're going to want to go to. There is a community submission that you need to be mindful of. I'm trying to ask everyone to go in there, read it, fill it out, email it to the UN. All the information is on the document. If you want to open it up, Brother C, so people can see it, all the information is on the document. Okay. So here's the Human Rights Committee document. You see the areas where you would have to put your information. Go down. Who it's going to, the email address is right there. You're saying that you are in support of the submissions, that our voices must be heard. I submitted these documents, like I said, 8 days after the resolution was signed. We want this to be heard in the fourth periodic review, which is in November. But the more that we're able to get this in, the more they're going to have to recognize that we're speaking for ourselves. Nobody is representing us without our consent. They're not under any mandate. We didn't ask them to do any of that. And as a matter of fact, what they're requesting is insufficient for the harm and the injury that we were caused generationally. So you guys can go here. And like I said, the email address is there. Where are you going to submit? I see people in the chat saying, can you put the website in the chat? If you look under on the actual live stream, it's going across the bottom, theboldauthority.com. Okay. Theboldauthority.com gives you the information, full transparency. You have the ability to do this or do your own. I'm going to pause right there, Brother C, and make sure everybody has the link.
Okay, I just dropped it in.
Okay. So, again, we go back to the fact that 1.1 1.776. I'm sorry, y'all. My eyes start playing tricks on me after a while. $1.776 billion of reparations was paid in a fund with a commission to evaluate and assess the claimants, to collect information, whatever needed to be done for that fund to be paid out, formal apologies, monetary relief, permanent commission for Donald Trump, his sons, and his organization. The legal mechanism existed. They used it 54 days after voting no on the UN resolution. The judgment fund under 31 US Code Section 1304 is that exact mechanism that exists to pay claims. Okay. So the US didn't say when they voted no that reparations were impossible. They denied being the criminals that they are. Just know that. If you want to look up on your own time, give you a little homework assignment, US Code Title 31, Section 1304, it's going to be called Judgments, Awards, and Compromise Settlements. The facts are in the title. Necessary amounts, and everything else, and who it's appropriated by, and who is able to tap in. I just want you guys to have the facts. Consider all the facts, weigh the information, go to the website, and please, if you want to share this out with someone else. I'm going to pause right there because I don't want to be long-winded.
Yeah, and I would only ask, since the laws are already on the books for us to have redress, how come none of the lawyers that have been on the books have ever attempted to do that?
I've always wondered that. I mean, and I think because of, me working in the field of policy and law, even though I am not a licensed attorney, I understand how to defend myself, right? And so should you with the law. But I've always wondered, like, what exactly are they doing? There are 5% of Black lawyers in the United States. Okay. That number doesn't really fluctuate very much, just so you know. Lawyers are a part of a quote unquote elite class of people if you look at it from a societal structure standpoint. So the 5% is
Why
typically
don't you just call
the
them who they are? Call them who they are. Call it out by now. I don't give a damn. The boule you talking about? You hollering about
yeah.
the boule?
I'm gonna let you
Okay.
do it, brother C, because you
All
do it
right.
better than
The
me.
boule then. Boule Bob and boule Betty.
The lumping bourgeoisie, right? Um, yeah. And so their interests, their concerns are not to have this kind of fight, because we know what happens when we come out and fight with the truth. We know what happens when we disrupt systems and say, here's our counterfouling. You're not gonna just get away with filing documents if we think we just gonna sit back and talk about it. We got documents we gonna file too, right? They typically want to try to attack the system, meaning they typically will try to attack you. So I mean, if you think about it, why they won't jump out on this type of thing is because they don't want to lose their licenses. They don't want to lose their money. They don't want to lose their social standing or status, their bourgeoisie parties and celebrations. So if you're expecting for one of them to be looking at these things and doing the work of the submissions like I submitted, it's not gonna happen. You, I'm putting the direct power into your hands. What is the word says? The kingdom is of power and not mere talk.
Hmm.
So what you'll hear is a lot of those lawyers on their little um platforms and TV commercials trying to sound eloquent, political sound bites, talking the rhetoric and speaking the speak. But when you look at their filings, they're in opposition to what they're saying out of their mouths.
Because they've been paid not to do nothing. If someone said, hey, if you don't speak on this UN thing and you don't say anything, here's 10 million for your trouble. Would you say or
Mm.
do anything? I mean, who in the chat, who in the that's watching? If someone said, hey, you're a lawyer, you're getting paid not to do the interests of black, why is the NAACP doing things for people of color? The POC, that's a term that I hate. Mind you, on my birth certificate
The
says
Ghana president
Negro.
said for the people of color.
People of color. People of color. Does that mean the Israelites? Does that mean the people that's claiming that they Moors? Does that mean the people that's still in the Christian church? Or does that mean the Asians, white females, um, Russians, Azov Regiment and Right Sector, the Ukrainians? Are those people of color? South
If they
Africa.
want to
What's the
be.
name? So what's the name? Well, who's that? That Elon Musk character. He said that he was the most African South African.
Mm,
He got more African in him than African so-called African Americans do.
mm.
Brother C, what does that say about reparations to the Israelites? Our reparations will come in the form of, I always point people to Deuteronomy 28 and Deuteronomy 30. Then I'll point you to Genesis. I believe it's 15, 12 through 13. And that's speaking specifically to us with regards to reparations. When we are set free, we will get ours. And I believe that we will see it. I believe I will be here to see us getting what is owed to us. And I will also be here to see some of the great things that our people will do. And see, that's another thing that when I mentioned that we are, yeah, the Bible, exactly, brother, exactly, the Bible. Biblically, it's biblically, the Father is faithful and just. And so he will always give his people that will sound the alarm for our people. And so I would point you to Deuteronomy 28 and 30. I would also point you to Genesis 15, 12 through 13, or actually 12 through 15. And that specifically outlines the second Exodus for you, because I believe that there will be a second Exodus for our people. Now, the second Exodus could be us congregating on somewhere. It could be in the snakes. It could be in Africa. I don't believe it's that patch of land that they're fighting over currently, but that's just what I believe. Go ahead, sis.
No, I'm just, basically iterating with what you're saying is that there are declarations that are being made, right? We are declaring who we are, and they are basically showing who they are not. We know that identities have been stolen. Like I said, this is beyond fiat currency, is beyond artifacts, right? Our identities were stolen, narratives, history, books, whatever it may be, right? Whatever it may be. But if we continue to think that, oh, well, we could just cast our vote, or we can just sit back and wait for, like you said in the beginning, someone to just come break open the sky. Like I hear from time to time to time when I'm asking, what are we going to do now to make sure that they understand all of us ain't with the oppression and exploitation? Some of us are going to fight back and speak up. And I hear people saying, I'm just going to pray and we're waiting for the rapture. That's wicked, right? When you have within your ability to do something, when you have a talent, when you have a skill, when you have an ability. I don't want to, go into that too deep. I just want everybody to be aware that doing nothing is also considered wicked.
Right. And we've built a site. There's a site that's out that will allow you to be active participants in this. The more of us that send letters to the UN, the more that they can't ignore us as individuals, because really we have no representation until we stand up as a group. If all of us submit submissions as a group, then we'll have a bigger and louder voice, and then they'll have to take notice. Now, what I will say is this, to your point, Stained glass is not never going to save you. Stained glass can't even save himself from being busted out. Stained glass is that hippie heroin addict purporting to be stained glass in all of these churches. The zigzag man,
The
that Cesare
zigzag man.
Borgia, the zigzag man cannot save you.
The
And y'all know
zigzag
what I'm
man.
talking about when I say the zigzag man. Go look at you remember them weed papers that came in a white wrapper in blue, and he was painted in blue on that. Y'all wasn't saved all y'all life. Stop it. The zigzag
Brother
man,
C,
that's him. He cannot save you. Go ahead,
Brother
sis.
C, you know the funny thing is, okay, I had just seen a big rig with the zigzag man's picture painted on the side. I don't know. It was a big rig, Anyway, and it had the zigzag man's picture on the side, so I don't know what they was hauling and delivering, but
they had the cross that he was hung on. That heron, that hippie was sold a flower child. He's a flower child in Greek garb with long, stringy hair related to Christian Bale in there. He cannot save you. He will not be coming down to rapture you, Christian. So you need to get that out of your mind. Whatever the Father got for you this hour, that's exactly what you're going to get. And whatever you want the Father to give you at this hour, Israelites, that is exactly what you are going to get. So if you want to get the rapture, he gonna give you the rapture. And it's gonna be an empty bag. You go trick or treating, which you shouldn't be going trick or treating. You're gonna have an empty trick or treat bag because the trick's been played on you. You foolish enough waiting for some rapture that some stringy hippie heroin addict that smoked all the meth all over the earth. He gonna come back and save you.
now how did they think after all the dirt and evil they've done across the earth, they gonna get to escape and they gonna try to put that
You get a get out of jail free card. An escape hatch magically appear out of a Lucky Charms cereal box that you get to press this button, and now you raptured, you disappear.
everybody can't look, everybody can't fit in Kenneth Copeland's plane, okay? I'm just letting y'all know you ain't gonna be able to. You didn't pay him your tithes and no offerings, so y'all ain't gonna be able to get on Creflo Dollar in Kenneth Copeland's jet. I'm just
At
letting you
all.
know.
They not even gonna be able to get on because when push comes to shove, the Father got something for them. As the book say their mouths need to be stopped. The Father gonna stop their mouth, and he done took all of their money away because people ain't flocking to the churches like how they used to since 2019, and we on the Father's timing now. Since
Yep.
2019, the
Yep.
church has been in decline. Why is that? Because 2019 means your 400 years was up. If you know the time clock, if you're on the right time.
And then you mean to tell me 6 years later, let's look at the number six if you want to, all of this reparations framework is existing?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm. And then this last point. What they don't know is, I'm gonna give this to y'all one for free. Whatever you say can and will be used against you. So when they enact these laws and when they do things to harm our people, the father they have to drink a double cup. The book say pour for her double. It didn't mean
Right.
pour for the Israelites double. So we don't
Right.
get to experience what they've experienced. We've already experienced every to the fullness. The fullness of it has already came. That's what it means by the fullness of the Gentiles. It's time for us to return back to our rightful place. Now, how many Israelites really truly believe that? What our rightful place is. The tail becomes the head becomes the tail. Read the blessings and the curses. Because according to Deuteronomy 30, you're supposed to call these things to mind, the blessings and the curses. And then what does he do? So we're going to end now and we'll be
Can
back
I end
again.
with this
Oh,
with this
absolutely.
verse?
Absolutely.
First,
Please.
thank you all for watching, and Brother C is gonna give you about next week. But I just want to end with this, and I just really appreciate your time. Jeremiah 16 and 19 is something that I ponder very frequently, especially now we see all these videos of TikTok and people admitting stuff. Oh, Most High, my strength and my fortress and my refuge. In the day of affliction, the Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and they shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit.
All praise to the Father. And this has been another. Hey, listen, we're going to be back again. 11 o'clock on Wednesdays. We're going to be consistent, and I'll put the thumbnail up for the next show as soon as we decide on what we're going to be talking about. But we want you all to come back and share this with your friends. It's not about me. It's not about Salt of the Earth Productions, but it's about us coming together and doing this work as a unit. And the Israelites should be leading the charge because the Father gave the Israelites the game. He didn't give it to nobody else. He gave it to us. Can't nobody decode the book like we can. You get a white man, he can't decode DC Comics. Now, how the hell is he going to decode this book? Anyway, peace and blessings to y'all. This has been another Salt of the Earth Productions.